Welcome back to the Cowboy and the Queen. Aesthetics here. We in Charleston, South Carolina. We're still at our conference. You know, we've had a great time, but I have a question for you because you told me something last night. I'm like, what in the heck? How did you have lemon seeds end up in your boots?
We're going to bring that up.
Yes,
Okay, Brian, I see how you are. Well, I got drenched by another gal in the bar, and she spilled her entire drink on me and my hair and my clothes, and to the fact that I had ice and lemon seeds in my boots. So thank you for that. I will not have any issues with vitamin C levels, or I will not get scurvy anytime soon.
Your boots.
But thanks for reminding me of
I'm
that.
saying your boots started growing.
Right,
You
for
know?
sure, right?
So-
For sure.
So no, this is something I'm really excited to talk about because this is a huge trending thing across the world, and we are talking GLP, GIP. So let's kind of dive into this a little bit.
For sure. For sure. So, GLPs and GIPs are the future of medical weight loss, and the trend is here to stay. And we have a large weight loss thriving part of our practice. And we see patients be very successful and have a bunch of success on these medications every day.
And so, I'm not as familiar with GIP difference, GLP, GIP.
Yep. So GLPs are glucagon-like peptide 1, and that's a natural hormone that's released by your intestines. And so its job is to slow digestion, control appetite, stabilize blood glucose, and help your body respond better to insulin. And then your GIPs are gastric inhibitory peptides. And what those work on is insulin secretion, and the real magic is fat metabolism. And so when you combine GLPs and GIPs, you get this dual action medication that reduces appetite, improves really how your body handles fat.
And then this is the first question we had here. Why are these meds everywhere? It feels like everyone has them, every group chat, every office. Why is that?
Well, because they work so incredibly well. And they work on the physiology of the patient, not just willpower. And so these GLP and GIP medications reduce appetite, they delay gastric emptying, they improve insulin sensitivity, they lower chronic inflammation in the body. So people literally feel better and less inflamed. They help remodel metabolic functioning, and people finally feel like they're in good control of their cravings all day.
And I know you kind of briefly brought this up, but this is a great question too. GLP, GP, different hormones, right? They do different things for weight loss.
Yes. So your GLP-1s are going to help with things like control appetite, lower blood sugar, reduce cravings, help regulate satiety. And then your GIPs are going to target that fat loss, or targets fat tissue rather, enhances fat breakdown, improves insulin responsiveness, and may help preserve lean muscle mass. So
And so this is just one of my questions too. Are these safe for everyone? Or is it, because there are so many people. I think I read a stat the other day that compared to using Botox and filler or whatnot, there's 45 million more people doing GLP-1s. That's like the state of California than doing both. So you can see how big a market that is. So it's so I mean, is it can anyone do it or,
well, anyone that's a good candidate can do it.
Okay.
And so it's important to get labs. It's important to monitor your patient. And so it really just depends on the patient. So they're not appropriate for everyone, but they are, appropriate for those that are good candidates. And so we want to get, some good labs on people. We want to make sure that someone who's taking these does not have any sort of eating disorder, that they're not pregnant or breastfeeding, that they don't have any active pancreatitis, that they don't have any personal history of medullary thyroid cancers, any severe GI disorders, and really people that are not looking for this to be just a silver bullet, but are actually willing to commit to a different lifestyle to help support their weight loss as well.
Absolutely.
So we get labs and we go over some health history with patients. And the other reason I think it's important to be under the care, of a physician or a nurse practitioner is because if you do have some side effects, you need for those to be monitored and you need access to medication to make you feel better.
Well, and that's, I mean, like getting the labs, checking in. That's one thing I'm not going to say, but like, folks are just like providing these to patients because they're not getting checked in. They're not testing how their labs are doing. They're just like, here you go, ship it to your house and good luck. Have a good one.
Yeah,
I don't, you know,
that's unfortunate, and we see that a lot too. But when you're under a truly medical supervised program, you're going to have better success. So patients should be coming in and be checked on either once a week or once a month to just figure out, first of all, you don't want patients losing weight too quickly. And so
mm,
there's really no way to monitor these patients if they're not actually coming into your clinic. And so if they lose weight too quickly, then they're going to lose a lot of lean muscle mass. And that's just not a
great.
good way,
Yeah.
right? A
Yeah.
good way to lose weight is too quickly. And every patient responds a little bit different. And honestly, Wyatt, we have patients that are on these medications that don't really want to lose weight, but they're just doing them for that, lowering overall chronic inflammation. So it's important to check in with your patients and have a plan, a comprehensive treatment plan.
Perfect response. This is a great question we just got in. What do people actually feel when they start these?
So, that's a good question. I think their appetite kind of quietens down. They start to feel full quicker. Their cravings stop, which is a big deal. Their bloating decreases. And then, for many patients, it's the first time in decades that their metabolism actually starts behaving. Now, I will say you can have some nausea and you can have some constipation when you're starting these medications, especially if you titrate up too quickly.
Mhm.
And so in our clinic, we say low and slow, right? Because we don't want patients
Too
losing
fast.
too much weight too fast or titrating their medications up too quickly.
And that can't be healthy though, too, for the body.
No, it doesn't.
You're losing weight that quick.
You are losing weight. And when you don't protect your muscles, and especially women that are perimenopausal or postmenopausal, then you worry about their bone density. And so we don't want to just have skinny patients. We want to have healthy patients,
It's a
right?
difference.
There is a difference. There is a difference.
Healthy, skinny.
Yep. Yep. And we can do both,
No,
but you
no,
just have to do it the right
okay.
way. Right.
So here's something you might have to ask or help me out with this one. So they asked, but there's also maybe like the TikTok version of this, which is not reality. You don't.
Yeah, we talked about that a little
So,
bit on the last
so
podcast, right?
yeah.
They'll have these, physique models that are talking about their GLP-1s. And again, what they're not talking about is the fact that they're eating high protein, drinking lots of water, exercising 3 to 5 times a week. And so it isn't just a silver bullet. Like it needs to be in a comprehensive plan that they're not only taking these medications, but they're staying hydrated, they're eating adequate amounts of protein, and they're exercising.
Well, and that's kind of just the question I have off the top of my head is like, so, can folks that are on GLPs or whatnot, can they eat whatever they want to? I know that, like I said, that your appetite is nothing close to what it is, but like, you know what I mean? Is it
You
kind of
don't
like a
change lifestyle, though. If patients get off these medications, they will gain the weight right back.
even continued even on GLPs?
No, if they stop taking them,
Right.
they're going to gain this weight back. But you do have to make lifestyle changes, right? Even if it's just small ones. Nutrition always matters, and so we really want to coach these patients on adequate amounts of protein. Now I will say, if you eat too unhealthily on these medications, you feel really bad.
Mm.
Like you eat too much fat, you're going to feel like you need to vomit, or you're going to feel like or you will have diarrhea. And so I always say these medications are kind of like your gainer, if you will, and you can still make bad decisions, but moderate lifestyle alterations are going to be necessary to ensure long-term success.
So, like if you're going to commit to it, why why do all this? It's kind of like, go to the gym and you work out really hard and then you go
Eat a cheeseburger.
eat a McDonald's or something like
Right,
that.
right, right.
And if you're going to commit to something, you gotta, if you want I guess you want the maximum result.
Absolutely. So, I mean, everything in moderation too. And I
Uh,
really believe that these drugs are the same goes true for that. Everything in moderation, and I think patients really do see good results. We have hundreds of patients on these medications, and we help celebrate their successes every day. But it's unfortunate when they, don't make these lifestyle changes because it's, again, not a silver bullet, and they're going to yo-yo if they tend to get off these medications. So,
So, I mean, like, what do people need to look out for though?
so
Like,
your typical side effects when they're on these medications are going to include things like nausea, constipation, fatigue, burping, low appetite. And, most of these things improve with slower titration of these medications, like we talked about,
mm,
increased protein intake, hydration, taking B vitamins, and regular eating, not going long, extended periods of time where they're not eating all day.
okay, they're not eating it all.
No,
Okay,
yeah,
yep.
for sure.
This is a funny one. And what about the horror stories online?
It's funny. We hear these all the time. Like, my brother was on this and they went to the emergency room. Well, I think that's from titrating too high of a dose, self dosing, right? People think more is better. And so, if you do not follow the guide of titration, then you will have these side effects. So, it's usually too high of a dose too quickly, not eating enough protein, no resistance training. And that kind of goes with losing that lean muscle mass, not supporting your gut health, like being on a pre or probiotic when you're on these medications. And it is absolutely manageable when you're monitored correctly.
So that's what I'm saying is like, why though? Then would why do offices not want to do these labs, or why don't they want to like check up on their patients? Or I have a hard time wrapping that around my head because I mean,
It's unfortunate. I think it's a money grab, really. Anything that's done well needs to be monitored. And so you can throw these patients on these medications all day long, but to ensure someone's long term success, they do need to be monitored more closely. And, just with anything, there's a few bad apples that's going to give this a bad rap. But, and I always tell my patients, we go low and slow. We're going to monitor your success. And if you lose too much weight too quickly, it's not healthy for your body.
no, it's not. And these are really good questions here that just came in. We kind of talked about you talked about this a little bit. Who is not a good candidate? Or
Well, it's going to be patients that, like I said before, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, you're not a candidate. If you have history of medullary thyroid cancer, you're not a candidate. It just, it boils down to each individual person. And so we just want to make sure that we are monitoring these patients and that we're checking in on them, and then we're not seeing any elevation in these labs whenever, they're on these medications.
and this is another great question too. Is can you regain weight after stopping doing this?
Absolutely. You only regain weight if you go back to those habits that we talked about before that created your weight problem to begin with. So, your GLPs and your GIPs will fix those metabolic dysfunctions, but you have to maintain the habits if you want to have those results last.
Eating healthy and so forth. But
Higher
that's what I'm trying to
protein, weight training,
get.
stable blood sugar, sleep, and hormone balance. Like, you have to have your hormones balanced as well. And when these are in place, maintenance is absolutely possible.
Well, it's just get you on a routine. It almost like gives you like goals as far as like what you want to do. Like if you're gonna do this, why continue to eat terrible? Why not start working out a little bit? Why not, eat
Of course,
healthy
of course.
and so forth? And if you're gonna invest in yourself, and why not do that? So yeah, it kind of goes right into just what you said about if you stop, what's gonna happen. This is, I think, very interesting. The future of GLP. What is the future of GLP and GIP? What do you like?
So
What do you,
there's a new player on the market or in the market, and it's in its final stages of research. And we are using it in our clinic,
okay.
and it is called retatrutide. And so it is a glucagon inhibitor. So I think we're going to see a shift, and it's going. The biggest difference in retatrutide
Yeah.
is
What is the big? What
the
is?
biggest difference, simply put, would be that it's really going to help patients maintain more of that lean muscle mass than let's say a GLP-1. So
Okay.
it's like next gen.
Okay.
And so it's fabulous. I have patients that are currently on it and they are loving it. And it's really helping a lot with their chronic inflammation as well. And even on microdose, even microdosing it, patients are just reporting that they feel less inflamed and that they are able to maintain and build lean muscle mass a lot better than when they were on these GLPs and GIPs. So I think we're just getting started. And the future is those triple agonists, like I talked about,
Mhm.
which is going to be your GLP, GIP, and your glucagon, ones that work on those. And then, I also think that peptide blends for appetite and
Yeah.
metabolism, we're injecting a ton of peptides in our practice. We kind of touched on this in the
Mhm.
last
Mhm.
podcast. So I think a blend of these GLP-1 GIPs plus these other peptides, I think that's
Combining.
combining
Yeah.
them is really going to even further kickstart that metabolism further and you make someone be able to recover from their workouts better and promote more lean muscle mass. So and that in combination, I think is going to be what really drives that longevity, weight management long term.
Yeah, GLP, GIPs, it ain't Hollywood, you know?
Right,
It's
for sure.
biochemistry.
It is. It
So
truly
that
is. It's not Hollywood magic.
no,
It is not. It is actually biochemistry. And when used correctly under medical supervision, it can be life changing, but it's not shortcutting the work. It's supporting the physiology so people can actually succeed.
that wraps up this week's episode of the Cowboy and the Queen, you know? Go lift something heavy, get your protein, do your thing. Don't believe everything that TikTok says or whatnot.
And,
Missy, got anything?
and just find a good partner. A provider to help with your weight loss journey and make sure too quick too fast never last, and that's true here too.
Absolutely. And I think we'll elaborate a little bit more like on our future podcast about that because this is such a big thing. Just like we were talking about peptides, GLP-1s, this is something that is going to continue to grow.
100%.
What you were talking to, bring it on to your office, what y'all are using right now, the differences between losing maybe so much more muscle, where you're losing more fat. So I'm excited to dive in more about that on a next episode or our episode
Future episode, yeah,
future episode.
for
So
sure.
y'all have a wonderful day.
Thanks for joining us on Cowboy and the Queen of Aesthetics, and join us next week for our next episode.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.